Hey, welcome back to A Faster Me. We're out here at the Majestic Majestic Ontario Crit. This will be my first official crit of the year, or first official race of the year. I got into the B, 4-5B, and we're at 5:10. It's getting a little windy, it's kind of warm, but let's see where we're at fitness-wise, and give it a go.
All right, so here we go. We're off. First race of the year. This time we're doing the long course. You can see in the top right up there. It's a nice L-shaped crit. It's not too technical. The turns are pretty wide, but honestly, the roads being so wide actually force a lot of people to make mistakes because you have a lot of choices as far as what lane and what speed you take each corner at. We have basically a west to east wind, which right now the wind would say be at our back going down this little stretch. And because of that, it's a good place to move up if you want to. I didn't take as big of an advantage of it as I should have. I'm a high corner speed guy, and I'm confident handling my bike through corners, so I really should have used turn 1 to carry some speed and use turn 2 to carry a little more speed, passing people on the breakaway. I can easily make up 10, 20 spots on that little stretch there when people aren't too wild and bumping or crashing. So there's one of my teammates over to the left, Jaden. Got to talk to him just before the race, just met him. I wish we would have had a chance to meet up, days before or weeks before, and get some riding together, learn each other's strengths, weaknesses. We have a good team that's out this year, a good 12 guys or so, but we don't know each other, haven't ridden with each other, things of that nature, mainly because of COVID. There's not too many sanctioned rides for our group. Anyway, as you can see, this ride is pretty sketch from the beginning. A lot of people are having some difficulties holding their line. I attribute that to a lot of the indoor training, stuff like that. COVID's done a number on us this last year and a half. From all of our illnesses and deaths and job loss, business loss, things of that nature, which of course suck. And we'd never want things like that to happen to anybody, and if we know them or not. But the one thing it has done is everyone seems to be a lot more fit this year. This race is almost 3 miles per hour faster than last year's race, even though it's half a mile longer than last year's race, and there's more uphill than last year's race. Last year we averaged 24, I averaged 24 point something miles per hour, and this year it was about 26.6. So good 2.5 miles per hour. So yeah, the race was fast. While I was in it, I wasn't sure how fast it was, but since I've watched the film, it's actually a pretty hot pace. It's a really hot pace. We had a faster pace than some of the other higher class races on the day, and honestly, it may have been a little too fast for us because there's a lot of crashes and people were having trouble holding lines, and we had started with almost 70 people. I don't know how many finished. I finished with I went into the last lap with the front group, and I didn't feel like I was in trouble of getting dropped really or anything like that. So somehow half our field disappeared or whatever throughout this race, or at least I never saw them again. Anyway, I'm going to try to concentrate on a couple things, some learning tips here, or some learning opportunities. You see all the movement everybody's doing. Everyone's real sketch. Nobody knows the optimum line. We are not taking it. It seems like, which is, I don't know if it's to be expected or not, but there's a pretty big team in here of juniors, and it's not a knock on the juniors. They're strong riders. They're doing, I'm sure, what they were coached to do, They're trying to control the ride off the front, trying to get some people on brakes and things like that. So you just saw that rider in front of me took his hands off and kind of nudged this rider here from Velosport. And yeah, Cat 4, Cat 5, it's not recommended. We should keep our hands on the bars at all times. Stay in the drops for one, gives you a more stable riding position. And if you bump, don't overreact to it. It's, protect your handlebars, protect your front wheel, hold your line. When you take your hands off the bars to touch people or push people or things like that, you're actually causing a situation to be a little worse than it is. That person may be moving towards you, but it's not necessarily that they're going to hit you. You can announce yourself. And I'm not knocking the rider that did it. It was instinctive, I'm sure. And we're all a little nervous here. If you were in this peloton, you'd be a little nervous too. If the video doesn't do it justice, but there's people bumping and running into each other left and right, and the lines are horrible. So with that being said, I'd like to thank Major Richard Flores, who's gave me put a few tips in my ear over the last week or so, and that's one of them was the reminder that, hey, when you're in a race or an aggressive group ride, stay in the drops, keep a solid position. It ain't time to be reaching for a goo right now or taking a drink from your water bottle. Stay in a solid riding position, low center of gravity, something that's going to give you some good balance. Moving up on the left right there in the black, red, and white kit, that's my buddy Walt. Walt Does Bikes. I believe it's Walt Does Bikes, not Walt Rides Bikes. If it is, I will correct it. But Walt has his own YouTube channel as well. And, check out his content, show him some love. He does race videos. I'm sure he'll have this one up there. And he also does some other bike-related type videos and stuff. So I chat with him here for a second.
What's he doing in this race? I thought you were in the last one. Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah, so overall, I don't know if you can hear our commentary, but Walt did the A race just right before this race. He got done, soon enough and had some energy, so he jumped into this one, tried to get extra points. He did some good work for his team, and I think he let out the sprinter for his team, and the sprinter got second. So definitely a great job, good teamwork. And it's always good to have a plan. This little stretch here, our group never got right. Maybe on the very last turn when the pace picked up even more, it was a little better. But for the most part, we never got that turn right. One thing that I concentrated on was carrying corner speed, trying not to hit my brakes as much. And I did the same thing last year. I'm getting a lot better at it. I see, a lot of guys out of the saddle, sprinting on out of every corner. It's good if you have the energy to do that. I want to save as much energy as possible. So I try to carry that speed. I start pedaling a little early also through the corner. We're not taking these corners that tight, honestly. So you can pedal through pretty much every corner here. And sometimes I have to coast because of, who's in front of me or just the position I'm in. But yeah, you can pedal through every corner here. There's some more sketchiness. I'm getting pushed out a little bit. But, it's where I'm at right now. It's 4-5. This is what happens. And you get big fields with a lot of people haven't raced, haven't maybe had sanctioned group rides like our group. And, it's what happens. If you look right here, the guy in the maroon right in front of me here, right in front of the guy in the yellow, they had a little bump a second ago, and he keeps a pretty solid position. He's on the hoods now, which obviously his position can be better into the drops. But being a big guy, he doesn't have to worry as much about, someone knocking him off his bike, unless, of course, handlebars hook or something. That's one of the sketchiest turns there. As you see, people are bumping over there on the left already again. And it's just because it's a fast turn, and this is a fast section as well. We're kind of with the wind to our back right here. We're usually over 30 miles per hour. And again, I can move up on this section, and I did not take advantage of it the way I should have. I think I only used it once to move up about 10 positions, when I should have been doing it every lap until I got into the position that I wanted to be in. This section here, this next 2 turns, man, they were a headache. That wind was so strong right here. And especially with so many juniors and smaller riders in the group, I can't get a good draft off a lot of those guys. Some of these bigger guys I can get a draft on, but at the same time, you know, when you've noticed that the wheel in front of you is losing touch a little bit, you got to go around it. And, you know, these juniors are strong. A lot of them were at the front most of the race. So unfortunately, I often had smaller people in front of me trying to get the draft, and I'm kind of towering over them. And believe it or not, I'm in the drops the entire race. There goes Cameron King, Go Fast rider. One of my neighbors and buddies that we chat with online and stuff are on Strava. But if I would have known he was in the race, I didn't even recognize him here during the race in front of me. But if I was known he was in the race, I probably would have worked with him. And he has a high racing IQ. He had an injury back in January and he just recovered from it. So he just started riding again. So definitely a lot of respect to Cameron. Like, he jumped in this race without having peak fitness or I think he's only had one serious ride before this race. So he came in second last year, just got edged out on the sprint to Dylan. But Cameron also has a good riding position. He stays in the drops most of the time. And he's just a lot of positive motion. There's no wasted motions, just up and down pedal strokes, not a lot of head movement. And like I said, he has a high cycling IQ, and especially, you know, to be so young in the sport as well. So I think about now, you know, life's about to get real for some people, and it's unfortunate. I snicker a little bit, but I don't mean to laugh at people, because yeah, this is where the crashes kind of start. Look to the right there, and down they go. Yeah, and that's not the last one. I don't think it was the first crash either. Like I said, this race was very nerve-wracking. When I was out there was a slight moment where I almost stopped. I almost said, like, yeah, I'm not trying to die out here today. Let me pack it in for another day, but I didn't. So here I used that to move up, and that crash probably scared me into moving up. So I make up about a good 5 to 8 positions here, but I should have been doing this every lap until I got into the top 15 and just stayed in the top 15 so I can see moves. There were people going off the front. The guy in black right here needs to hold his line. He saw people on his left, so he moved to his right, and I almost took his handlebars off. You know, just the speed I'm going and the speed he was going, he's going to crash. Most likely I'm not. I'm in my drops with a solid position, and most likely I would have clipped his handlebar. He would have lost his front wheel. So when someone's passing you or the group is passing you, try not to panic. Just hold your lines. So yeah, I think that crash scared me a little bit, and just with all the movement in the group. And I had a serious moment where I was like, I'm just pulling into the pit on the next lap. Like, it wasn't worth it. You know, I have a job, I have a family, need to pay bills. So, but anyway, I just kept my confidence, and I'm confident with my bike handling. So yeah, just stay in it, do what you can, move to safer positions, and protect your front wheel. Do not put yourself in those dangerous positions. Do not panic. So I believe it's the gentleman in front of me right now. Oh, I believe the gentleman in front of me, number 529. We were together pretty much majority of the race, and I'm not sure if he's the person that reached out to me. I think his name, the Dr. Chocolate. I'm not sure if that's him or not, but he has a YouTube channel as well. I don't know if that's under that name or not. I couldn't find it. Once I talk to him again, I'll get all his info and everything. And I plan on using some of his video to do a different video as well. So I'm going to exchange videos with him, and he can use my footage and I'll use his footage, and hopefully maybe I can do a race analysis on his video, see it from his perspective, or just critique my riding from his perspective. So anyway, the herd is thinning out a little bit here, some from attrition, some from crashes, and some from just, people getting fatigued, people getting dropped. But, I'm kind of impressed with everyone's fitness. The pace was actually pretty hot. Not to mention, I hovered around 180 beats a minute with a max heart rate of 188 or whatever, 186, for pretty much the whole race. I think my 20-minute heart rate was 179 in a 30-minute race. So I felt pretty good, though. I felt encouraged. Still doing a lot of training with Chaz Torman from Elevate Coaching. Chaz is part of the Ride Bikes Pro team. That's with Vegan Cyclists and their sprinter, Nick. I'm not sure who the other riders are on their team, but, I'm sure a lot of people follow both their channels. But Chaz has been working hard to just get me stronger, get my power up. Look to the inside here. I think there's another crash in this turn. Look at rider 529 and 588. Doesn't protect his wheel. He widens his line slightly and clips that inside tire. Yeah, trust me, there was a lot of lessons learned this weekend. The 4-5 race right before us, also a number of crashes. Unfortunately, my teammate got caught up into somebody else's crash and clipped one of their pedals. He was able to stay upright, and then a little later, somebody else hit him and took him down. So between the 4 and the 5s, we definitely need to not worry about speed and power as much, work on some of our bike handling just to be safe. Get together with your team and whoever you're going to ride with and cover some of those things. Cover what position to be in, stay in the drops as much as possible. It's just a more stable riding position. Your hands and arms are also outside of your bars, a little wider than your body, so it allows you to use your hands and arms and shoulders to protect your handlebars and protect your position a little better. I'm trying to move up a little bit here just to stay out of the carnage, and there's a group off the front, and I was pretty sure somebody was going to have to run it down. It was not going to be me, but I wanted to be near the front so I can see what happens. And unfortunately, I shuffle up and then shuffle back a little bit. But I'm not in bad position here. It's okay if I'm in the, these top 20 right here is not too bad. Like I said, the pace was hot. It wasn't super easy to move up when, we're doing 30 plus. I'm not going to sprint to move up, and I'm not going to burn energy. It's not easy for me to do much over 30 miles per hour by myself. Finally got a solid draft in front of me here. 2 larger guys, at least my size. So I think we're getting close now. I don't know how many laps to go. You'll probably hear it better than I can on the video. But we probably have about 4 or 5 laps to go or so. And the fatigue setting in on everyone. I'm pretty rested right here. You see my heart rate's down to 166. We're not pushing too many watts either, but the pace slows a lot these last couple laps. Instead of hitting 30 plus all the time, we kind of hover around 28. And what makes me have a little more confidence about this ride is, again, I didn't feel I was race ready whatsoever. And it's not a knock on my coaching, Chaz's coaching or anything like that, because I told him ahead of time, this is a practice script for me, basically. This is a training race. Unfortunately, when you get closer to race day, you start wanting results, but it's too late. Once your plan is already set for this to be a training race, there's no tapering. You just race with the fatigue that you have and do the best that you can. So, it is a little hit to your confidence sometimes because you're not like really physically ready, but Chaz and I, we've done a lot of threshold work. We've done a lot of VO2 work, but we haven't really done any speed work, any sprints, any 30-30s or anything like that yet. So I'm very optimistic about where we'll go in the future and what type of fitness I may have in a couple months. But overall, my main limiter is positioning in the race, and just I have a low threshold. Some of these efforts, get diminished if you raise your threshold a little bit. So you can't be 180% of your threshold repeatedly without getting fatigued. You drop that down to doing 150% efforts, gets a little more manageable. 120%, even more manageable, But yeah, if I'm hit 400 watts out of every corner for 5 seconds or whatever, yeah, that's going to be 160% of my threshold or whatever, every turn, which we did about 10 laps. So 10 laps in a 7-corner crit or 5-corner crit, what is that? Yeah, so you're going to end up having a ton of little sprints, little 400 watt sprints, which is not a true sprint, but still it's taxing. So you can see things are thinning out a little bit, and the pace is starting to ramp up a little. Whenever you're single file or 2 lines, it's pretty hot. This is another example of our bad lines we're taking. I don't exactly know why that rider went so far off to the left there, and then try to squeeze in. That's a really tough angle to hold your line through that turn. If you're super tight carrying speed, you have almost no choice but to run wide. Everybody's in the hurt locker, or starting to get back into the hurt locker now, though. You can see it on body language, things like that. Still can't say enough about Cameron up there. He's looking real calm, not wasting a lot of energy. Really good riding position still. And yeah, he's doing a better job than I am of staying in a decent position. Looks like he's fading a little bit now, but again, he hasn't worked out. He's ridden 60 miles once since he's been back on the bike. So, that's great, just being out here. And I've been training all year, so with no injuries, no major injuries at least. And he jumped right back in and was able to do, at least 8 laps of a pretty hot pace, which is going to go, miles for his fitness in these next couple weeks and months. Here, I think I try to move up a little on the left because it was necessary. And, it's getting down to crunch time. Got my teammate Jaden right here in front of me, which was good. He's a bigger guy than some of these small guys out here, so he's going to provide a good draft. And, I just figured, okay, I'll follow him for a second as well. I was going to go up the inside, but then I figured, I'll just follow him for a second. We're in a decent position here. I believe we have 2 laps to go. I told him I was on his left right there just so he doesn't cut me off. And, of course, he acknowledged and held his position. And that's all you have to do. Just tell somebody on your left, or whatever verbiage you want to use, and hold your position. You don't have to try to squeeze in there and get your front wheel clipped. It's almost always your responsibility to protect your front wheel. I say almost only because there's chances someone can just come across you and cut your wheel. But for the most part, anything that happens in front of you, you should take responsibility for. And of course, I know someone will say, what if someone crashes right in front of you? Well, of course, we get it. But it's just more of a personal responsibility and accountability thing. Instead of being so quick to blame everyone else, you really should ask yourself, should I have had my front wheel right there? You may want it there, but should you have it there? You may have a right to have it there. But again, ask yourself, should I have it there? Is that a good place for me to put my front wheel? And it's something I need to learn too, because we're all hurting out here and we want to take the easy way out. And sometimes you just got to, grit your teeth and put in a little effort to get to a position that you want to be in. And I need to learn that as well, because, everything in your body says slow down. And sometimes I listen. My heart is about to pop. I just saw 183 on it, so I am definitely back in the hurt locker. I don't know if I was feeling it necessarily right now, but, I can see it. I can see that I'm slowing. My accelerations are slowing. And that wind, as this herd thinned out, the wind was no longer pleasant. It was pretty strong. I'm glad some of these guys came by, because it did motivate me a little bit to move over to the left and try to get some protection. The wind's coming off of our right. This building shields it here pretty good, but coming off of that turn, yeah, you'll slow down a lot if you don't have some protection. So again, we got the speed going again a little bit. Pace is starting to get hot again. When the race comes down to an end, you got to move up. And I simply didn't. I didn't move up to a better position. It's a little less chaotic up at the front also. And, in hindsight, I'm kicking myself because, physically it hurts either way. You can be back here noodling around or messing around in 25th, 30th place, stuff like that. Or you can have that pain be a little more worth it and move up to about 15th place. And then you're in good position for that last lap. As you can see, we're kind of losing riders almost every turn. People are starting to fall off the back. Not to mention the couple crashes separated the field a lot as well. And I don't know if I said it already, but got to give a lot of respect to all these juniors, especially the juniors from Velosport. They had a pretty big group in this ride, and they had some good tactics. I think, unfortunately, some of them are just young still, to where, on a windy day like this, you really can't get away. If you're going to be a really small rider, the wind's going to slow you down a lot, and being a big rider or bigger riders, is often a disadvantage. But when you have power, it's not that big of a disadvantage. Just some of the juniors, it was cool they were doing what they were doing, but I think physically some of them just weren't strong enough to hold that type of speed in the wind. So I believe this is I think we're going to be heading into one lap to go. Once again, you see it stretching out a little bit, pace picking up. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is one lap to go. I know I need to move up. I got my team captain on the right over here yelling at me, move up. And I tried. Excuse me. I tried. I move up to the left here. Again, I'm confident on corners, stuff like that. My plan is coming in here, take this first left on the inside and move up a couple of positions. And unfortunate for me, I think it's number 580 right here, pinches me off, and yeah, I'm stuck in, I think I was in actually my 52.11 right there, and I lose so much acceleration right there. I'm usually well into the hundreds when I'm trying to accelerate, and I went down into the 90s. Took a lot of power. I'm still pushing almost 400 watts, and I kind of popped right here. I basically only had a sprint effort left in me probably. I'm up to 182 still heart rate. It's been 180 something for a good last lap or whatever. And that little separation right here, I can't catch back on now. Coming here, there's hard wind off the left, and I don't know if you can hear it or not, but yeah, I can't go an extra mile per hour almost, you know? And here you can see I'm down to 22 miles per hour. Like, yeah. It's over. This was the last lap, and unfortunately when I get gapped here, I take a look back and there's no one within, I don't know, other than the guy that I just passed or the two people I just passed, there's like no one within a quarter of a mile or something. So I just cruise it on in from here. And I shouldn't say cruise it in. I do cruise it in, but you know, cruising for me, I mean, 240 is my FTP, so yeah, it's not exactly a cruise, but yeah, I do. I just cruise it, kind of tempo ride it in or whatever, and look back a couple times. There's no positions I can gain, and there's no positions I can lose. So yeah. So anyway, I think I end up finishing 35th out of 68 or something like that. Not too disappointed, honestly. I'm a little disappointed with that last lap decision of cutting in the inside there. Once I saw it was congested, I should have just fell in. I had 5 more corners that I could have made moves on to move up. And, you know, hindsight's always 20/20. Fatigue also makes you take the easy way out. And I kind of took the easy way out of trying to, you know, get a home run now and shoot up the inside instead of being a little more patient. Other people would have popped on the lap, to be honest with you. Other people would have, you know, gotten dropped on that lap, and I could have, you know, tried to position myself for one burst down this front straightaway, which I have a decent sprint. So, you know, that always gives you a little bit of a chance. So
I tried to make a move in turn 1 and got pinched off. There.
had to explain to my crew why I'm, you know, cruising in off the back now. But yeah, it's a good race. There's a lot of, you know, I wouldn't say it was fun. It was a little too sketch to be to be categorized as fun, but it was great learning. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Had to get a little West Coast yell there.